The crystalline caves of Thesauria 9 had witnessed many wonders across the millennia, but none quite like the creature that lay curled in their deepest chamber. Velthra, the last of the Draconith, had not seen the twin suns in 347 cycles. Her scales, once luminescent white like fresh snow under moonlight, had dulled to the color of ancient bone, but it was her wings that told the cruelest story. Time itself had become her prison. The membrane between each wing bone had calcified, fused together by centuries of disuse and the relentless march of biological entropy. What had once allowed her to soar between planets now lay folded against her serpentine body, like fossilized monuments to a forgotten age. The Draconith had been starfarers before most species learned to make fire, but Velthra had been left behind when her people ascended to pure energy. Too weak from injuries to make the transformation, she had accepted her fate with the dignity of her kind, until the human arrived. Engineer Leon Ward hadn't come to Thesauria 9 looking for legends. He'd come because the mining company's deep core scanner had detected unusual energy signatures, and someone needed to investigate before they started blasting. What he found instead was a creature from every spacer's childhood nightmares. 50 feet of scales, claws, and teeth, except this one watched him with eyes that held more sadness than menace. "Well," Leon muttered, lowering his plasma cutter slowly, "this complicates the geological survey." Velthra's massive head tilted. In 3 centuries, nothing had disturbed her solitude. Most species that stumbled into her cave either fled screaming or tried to kill her. This small biped in the orange environment suit did neither. "Can you understand me?" Leon asked, switching his translator to broadcast across multiple frequency ranges. The dragon's response came not in words but in a pulse of bioluminescence that rippled across her scales, a language older than human civilization. Leon's translator struggled, then caught fragments. "Alone. Long time. Cannot fly." Leon approached slowly, his engineer's mind already cataloging the creature's condition. Malnutrition, muscle atrophy, and those wings. He'd seen similar issues in Earth's rescued raptors, though never on this scale. "Your wings are fused shut," he observed, moving close enough to examine the calcified membrane. "How long?" 347 cycles, Leon did the mental math. In Earth years, that was roughly 4 centuries. He whistled low. "That's beyond any biological recovery period I know. The tissue would be completely—" He stopped, running a gloved hand along the wing's edge. The membrane felt like stone. This shouldn't even be possible for organic matter. Velthra rumbled, a sound that vibrated through the cave floor. Her kind had always healed, always adapted. But time, it seemed, could defeat even Draconith resilience. "The company's going to want this site," Leon said, more to himself than the dragon. "They'll either kill you or cage you for study." He looked up at her massive form, at eyes that had seen empires rise and fall. Neither seems right. He spent the next 3 days studying Velthra's condition while filing false reports back to his company. Equipment malfunctions, unstable cave systems, dangerous gas pockets. Every excuse he could manufacture to buy time. In those days, he learned the dragon's story through broken translations and light pulse communication. He learned how her people had been artists and philosophers, how they'd mapped the stars before humans left their caves, how they'd chosen transcendence over corporeal existence, how they'd forgotten one of their own. "Humanity's good at one thing," Leon told her on the 3rd night. His tools spread around him in organized chaos. "We're too stubborn to accept the impossible." What he proposed was insane by every medical and engineering standard. Using a combination of cellular regeneration technology, synthetic membrane grafts, and enough stimulants to wake a hibernating colony ship, he would attempt to restore function to wings that had been dead for longer than his entire civilization had existed. "This will hurt," he warned, preparing the first injection of nano-reconstructors. "It will hurt more than anything you've felt in centuries." Velthra's response was simple. "I have forgotten what flight feels like. Pain is acceptable." The process took 17 days. Leon worked without sleep, sustained by stimulants and sheer determination, while Velthra endured agony that would have killed lesser beings. He carefully separated each fused section, millimeter by agonizing millimeter, while nanomachines rebuilt the necrotic tissue at the cellular level. The synthetic grafts designed for ship sails but repurposed, with typical human improvisation, were woven into gaps where organic matter could no longer regenerate. The mining company's patience was wearing thin. Leon's supervisor was threatening to send an investigation team. On the 18th day, as the twin suns of Thesauria 9 reached their zenith, Leon helped Velthra climb toward the cave's upper entrance, a journey that took hours for muscles that hadn't borne weight in centuries. They emerged onto a crystal plateau that sparkled like a sea of diamonds. Velthra's wings, a patchwork of regenerated tissue and synthetic membrane, stretched wide for the first time in 347 cycles. They weren't perfect. The graphs showed as silver against white, and her wingspan would never match what it once was. But they were whole. "The thermals are good here," Leon said, checking his atmospheric scanner. "And you're lighter than you used to be. Should work in your favor." Velthra looked at the small human who had given her back the sky. No words existed in any language for what she felt. Gratitude, certainly, but something deeper. Wonder, perhaps, that in all the universe's vastness, it was the youngest and most reckless species that refused to abandon hope. She launched herself from the plateau with a grace that defied her centuries of imprisonment. The first wing beats were awkward, uncertain, but muscle memory proved stronger than time's erosion. She climbed higher, the twin suns warming scales that had known only cave darkness for so long. From the plateau, Leon watched her spiral upward until she was just a white speck against purple skies. His communicator buzzed. The company team would arrive in 3 hours. He smiled, gathering his tools. By then, Velthra would be beyond any ship's scanning range, flying toward coordinates of ancient Draconith outposts he'd helped her remember. Maybe she'd find her people again. Maybe she'd find something new. Either way, she'd do it with wings spread wide and the stars calling her name. As Leon packed up to face the inevitable disciplinary hearing, he noticed something carved into the crystal near where Velthra had launched. A pattern of light pulses frozen in mineral form. A message in ancient Draconith. His translator took a moment to process it, then displayed the meaning. "Humans do not accept impossible things. This is why the universe needs them." Leon laughed, shouldering his equipment pack. "Yeah, well," he said to the empty sky. "Someone has to be crazy enough to try." Above, a white speck danced between the clouds, relearning joy one wing beat at a time.